All right, guys, we are here in Manhattan and we are testing out the Chiopt lenses. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but basically this company had sent us the lenses to test out. So that's what we're doing today in Manhattan. We're just going around getting some B-rolls, testing different environments. We have it on this camera right here, the FX3. We have it on this FX3 and we have it on that FX6. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our shots and we'll come back to you in studio.
Hey, this is Ambrose and Arthur, and we're at Cine. I run a small rental house in the financial district. We got sent these lenses from Chiopt, the Auras. They're a super fast, small Sony E or Canon RF or like a L mount 5 lens set in 16, 24, 35, 50, and 85.
And we just came back from the shoot and we have our initial impressions. These were specifically made for mirrorless cameras and we're testing it on the FX6 and the FX3. I'm always interested in hearing what really experienced people have to say about it because, you know, you shot on all sorts of different lenses, you've shot all sorts of stuff. And so I'm curious about like what your initial impressions on these were.
I mean, at $4,000, no one's making a better lens at $4,000 for 5 of these. But in terms of the optics, they were really sharp in the middle. They're actually pretty sharp edge to edge between all 5. Build quality is good. But just in terms of bang for a buck, we have the Vespids in-house, we have the Nisis in-house. Both of those sets are more expensive for starters. And knowing that they're also native E-mount, if you're looking for size, it's pretty nice. I feel like part of the big move to Sony, not only for price, was just the ease of use. I know that if I'm using, let's say, any Arri camera, as much as I love the image, there's so many times on set now where we have the, you know, like an FX6 or an FX3 as a B camera, and you find yourself shooting on it more often because it's just either a very long day or you're in a tight spot or you just have to move fast. So having to adapt E-mount to PL and then have a big lens on it sometimes defeats the purpose of why people are going to them. I think this is going to be really popular with people who wanted to use a manual follow focus or have focus control on a gimbal just natively without having to deal with an adapter ring, having hard stops. I can't think of a better value off the top of my head.
What was your favorite out of the 5?
The 24 was my favorite.
Okay.
The 16 being the second favorite. I also do like usually shooting on the wider lengths and going closer. On that note, all the lenses had really good minimum focus distance, which we pointed out and you'll see some of that. But I mean, I was about, what, 6 inches away?
The surprising thing is that even though these lenses are described as like clean lenses, I actually saw the 16, 24, and 35 had some character in it. Like the bokeh was like little like, not swirly, but like, you know, it just wasn't like this smooth thing that you would see on maybe like a GM lens. So, this 50 was very vanilla. I would say that like, it just looks like any other lens, I would say, versus like 35, 24, and 16, they have a little more of that like.
Those were the most impressive ones to me too. And I do see what you're saying about the character. There was just something about maybe the edges, like a slight vignette, something about it that felt a little more organic. It wasn't your clean standard lens or modern lens. If you were doing a commercial or let's say brand content or an event and you wanted a neutral look with a little bit of character where it wasn't going to put off your client, it's got a little bit of that special sauce, but it's not too funky. It's not going to throw someone off and be like, well, why is it soft, or why do the edges look like that? Somewhere in between, you know, it's something to keep you happy and to keep your client happy, you know?
So we're talking about all the positives of the lenses, and you know, the company that sent us these lenses, they said just be honest with this review, which is I really appreciate, and we're gonna do that. And so like, what are some of the things that you think could have been done better, or something that you would look more for as far as like if there was like a version 2 or something like that?
Where I personally see myself using this would be in situations where I would not be using a matte box. So I know that there might be other creators out there who would use a matte box with this and maybe that would be acceptable. I'm guessing you can still clamp onto this. But for me personally, I'd be going for these because of their size, their weight, and using them on an FX3 or FX6. So it would be nice to have screw-on threads for the 16. However, I also understand with the limitations. Just looking at the lens, the way it's designed, it's probably a cost situation in order to design a lens like that. But hey, maybe version 2 or maybe down the line, it'll be possible.
This is a really stupid thing, but lenses that are not black, I just don't understand, like, and you said it earlier, like, what are you compensating for? Like, you gotta make it silver to make it look cool or something like that. But I shoot in so many different situations where you can see sort of a reflection from anything on the camera. So you try to minimize that type of stuff. If there's like lighting hitting this, I've sometimes had to work around that because it's showing in reflection or something like that. So another thing that we looked at was the flaring, and I'm very disappointed to say there's not a lot of flaring happening with these lenses. It's just like it's kind of like any other still, like a lot of the other stills lenses where if you have the sun pointing at your camera, with some of the higher end ones, like the master belts, like, dude, those flares are amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're really, really nice. But these, it was just like a little blip on the sensor.
We were really trying to see anything, even for a visual reference of like, what will it look like? Nothing. I mean,
Yep.
I'm just gonna test right here. Oh, there we go. If it's very close, we do see that.
So the good news is that the flare control is really, really good.
For certain jobs, that's actually really convenient because you don't want to work with them. Like if you're doing the screw-on thing, you don't have a matte box, you don't have a cider, you don't have the time. Could be what you're looking for.
Yep. Here, I want to show you guys something. And what I noticed is that like these are on all of them actually. All of them have a very short pull. So they're very much more like still lenses when you're trying to pull focus. And what that means is if you're trying to like go from one object to another in like a decent distance, you have to be super accurate and like move it like really small if you're doing it with your hand, or even like a follow focus. Versus some of the more traditional cine lenses that have a bigger body and more of a throw, it gives you a little bit of that grace where you can like kind of roll into a focus, and like once you hit that sharp point, you start to see it. Versus these like still lenses, where like if you miss it, like you're completely off. And that's one thing that's like, even though it is kind of like a cinema lens, like in that particular regard, the focus throw is like very, very short. So it's a little bit rougher to pull the focus. All right, Ambrose, well, thanks a lot for having me out. These lenses are really important to kind of test out and utilize if you're a cinematographer DP, just because like they are one of the major things, aside from lighting, that will give your footage just that not that secret sauce, but just a different look depending on what it is you're looking for.
It's a way to stand out, right?
So
everyone wants to, something comes out, a lot of people start using it, and then after a certain amount of time, you're like, okay, well, I recognize that.
Yeah.
So I feel like people are always looking for something to either stand out, and sometimes it's not the newest thing, sometimes it's something that people haven't seen for a long amount of time. It's just whatever's the flavor of the season or month. But with these not existing anywhere else, I think also the abilities that certain gear gives you, not just by the characteristics, but by the size or the use case. So if this allows you to pull your own focus manually, but in a tiny package with some character, maybe that's filling a gap that I can't really think of another lens manufacturer doing at the moment.
All right, so these are pre-production models. They aren't actually out yet, so we're very lucky to have this set. So they're gonna be out in the world around July 9th, 2025.
Thanks for watching our video. TLDR for 4,000 bucks, can't be beat. And if you ever want to check these out or other lenses, hit us up. Happy to help.
Peace, guys.
Lates.